Welcome to Chalmers Weekly Roast. Today, Flightless Frolics, the Penguin, the Superintendent, and the Stairs.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our very first edition of Chalmers Weekly Roast, a podcast where only the steamiest topics are discussed. I'm Superintendent Chalmers, and by my side is my longtime, loyal, and truly heartwarming friend, Principal Seymour Skinner. Welcome, Seymour. Nice to have you here.
Oh, wow, what now? What an inspiring introduction and announcement. Now, I don't even know if I can live up to the promises when you butter me up so much.
That's no understatement.
Oh, gosh, thank you so much. And yes, thanks to you, too, for letting me be part of it. I have to say, the introduction for our first episode went really well.
Oh, yes. I wrote the text down on the side so that I wouldn't make a mess of it and our listeners would get a proper welcome speech for our first podcast.
Huh, you said speech.
Affirmative speech.
The joke never gets too old. But yeah, what you don't know out there is that we spent ages thinking back and forth about how to design the introduction, and yes, in the end, this is what we came up with. Quite
satisfactory.
Yes. It's definitely true. And you've already covered it a bit. We want to talk about a wide variety of topics in this podcast, be it any exciting events from our daily encounters or general topics that are simply on both of our minds.
Yes, video games, stories from everyday life, science, music, and much more.
Yeah, so don't worry. We'll certainly have enough ideas, and we hope we'll be able to chat to you here regularly every week. At least that's the plan.
Exactly, a weekly podcast. Initially on YouTube, maybe then also on Spotify and wherever else there are podcasts. Let's see. It's an ambitious project, but we hope we can make it all work for you. And if it's not regular yet, we're sorry, we're working on it.
Yes, with you by my side, I'm not worried at all.
Oh, Seymour, you charmer again. But yes, thanks at this point to ArticTiger and Desens for providing us with a mouthpiece, so to speak.
Oh, yes. Thank you very much. Without the guys behind the setup, none of this would be possible. We don't have much to do with all that tech stuff. So thanks also go to all the people who provide us with the necessary podcast software, the brains behind the technology. Be it a tortoise, a talking llama, or a python.
I totally agree. But, well, yes, enough preamble. Let's get to the real topic for this week. Personally, I'm a bit, embarrassed on the one hand, but on the other, I'm looking forward to telling you a bit about it because it's also a quiet, funny story. Funny story. Seymour and I thought it was appropriate for our first podcast episode, and we want to talk about when I dressed up as a penguin for Halloween last year and unfortunately fell down the stairs.
Oh, straight to the point, Chalmers. I know it took a lot of effort for you to start with such an embarrassing story for our first episode, but dear viewers, thanks to my powers of persuasion, that's exactly what we want to talk about today.
Now, let's dive into the juicy details of our Halloween escapade, shall we?
Sure, let's get straight to it.
Absolutely. So let's start at the very beginning. We received the invitation for the Halloween celebration of the school conference about 4 weeks before Halloween. The excitement was palpable. The annual celebration, starting at 4 p.m. in the gym, with the speech, the costume presentation, and then the buffet. A true spectacle every year.
And let's not forget the best part. The parade through Springfield, ringing doorbells in our costumes. It may sound odd, but the people in the town as well as the students love it.
Oh, the joys of being educators with unconventional traditions.
Speaking of traditions, let's rewind a bit. Choosing our costumes was quite the process, wasn't it?
Indeed. I initially considered going as you, Principal, in my Skinner costume. It's actually kind of a long-standing tradition of ours, you in your Skinner Chalmers costume and me in my Chalmers Skinner costume. But this year was going to be different. A documentary about penguins caught my eye, and I thought, why not be a penguin this year?
Smart. A flightless bird with a certain charm, as you put it.
Exactly. Exactly. And you, Skinner, chose the classic Chalmers costume. Half bald. Thanks for that, genetics, stern expression, and all. You could have chosen something else, but I couldn't dissuade you from the usual idea.
Yes, I'm just far too much of a man of principle. That's so common for principles. No pun intended. I can't break with tradition, but because you really want to try something new, I didn't want to convince you by hook or by crook to stick to our ideal standard. And besides, it's always entertaining to see the reactions.
Little did we know what the night had in store for us. The party started off well. Costume competition at first.
Right, there were a few other teachers there. Nothing new. It was the usual faces for our annual competition.
Oh yes, Richard, John, and Meadow were there again. But to be honest, they had also really great costumes.
Definitely, how incredibly time-consuming that must be. Especially Richard's Geralt of Riva costume.
Oh yeah, I really respect you people out there who put a lot of effort and work into cosplays or costumes in general like this.
Definitely. Couldn't agree more.
But yes, so much for that. A few presentations and speeches later, and then it was time to eat.
Ah, the buffet. I opted for a potato casserole, and you, Chalmers, went for a vegetarian burger with fries.
Delicious choices, I must say. Fortunately, not prepared by you, otherwise the party would have been over quickly thanks to the blazing flame.
Yes. Admittedly, I was waiting for the side blow. Yes, sometimes I make mistakes in the kitchen.
Sometimes. You can only be glad that you have such an accommodating insurance company.
Well, knowing how saves time and energy.
Indeed, but yes, before we get stuck there, as we enjoyed our meals, we discussed our travel plans for the upcoming year.
You really wanted to go to the Philippines. I wanted to go to Paris. It's funny how a Halloween party becomes a platform for discussing future adventures.
Indeed, indeed. And then came the trick, or treat, where we, along with other teachers, roamed the streets in our costumes. The parents enjoyed it just as much as the students.
And you, Chalmers, had quite the knack for engaging in lively conversations.
Well, it's all about creating memorable experiences for everyone involved. Sometimes getting stuck at the door, chatting to people, and asking how the family is doing. It's just lovely and feels homely.
Ha ha, yes. You like it a bit more than I do. And yes, then we're already back in the gym. I think it was around 8:30. To be honest, I was also glad to be back in the warm. It was really fresh this year.
Smart one thinks ahead. Luckily, I had the perfect costume for this fresh season.
Ah, well, the Chalmers costume also warms you up a lot.
Ah, indeed, I feel comfortable in my own skin.
Anyway, when we got back to the gym, it happened. The pivotal moment. The accident.
Ah, yes. It was around 11 p.m. I needed to use the basement restroom, but I didn't anticipate the width of my penguin costume. Costume. Got stuck on the banister, couldn't hold on, and down I went. Embarrassment aside, can you imagine the sound it made when I hit the ground with my candy bucket? It must have echoed throughout the entire building.
Yes! You could hear the bang in the whole gym. That was a rather unexpected turn of events. And yet, somehow you managed to get yourself out of that predicament without sustaining any serious injuries. That's some impressive agility right there.
Agility, huh? Ha! More like luck, my dear friend. I assure you, if it weren't for the quick thinking of Principal King, I might not have escaped unscathed. He was there, luckily, and helped me up.
Really? Mr. King was there?
Wow, that's amazing. I always thought he was a pretty cool guy.
Yes, he certainly is. In fact, he even offered to help me clean up the mess, which I gratefully accepted. Together, we removed the broken pieces of my pumpkin bucket and swept away the debris left behind.
Sounds like quite an ordeal. But hey, at least you came out alive and well. That's what matters most, after all.
Agree. A bruised back and a broken pumpkin bucket with squashed sweets, but all in good spirits.
Wait, what? A bruised back? Your back was hurting the whole time?
Well, yes, but the dancing, Skinner, the dancing is what I look forward to every year. I gritted my teeth and pressed on.
I had no idea, Chalmers. I mean, I'm glad you didn't get your night ruined because of the accident, but whoa. You could have said something.
We could have had the school nurse look over it.
It takes more than a tumble down the stairs to dampen the Halloween spirit. We had a blast. Yes.
We certainly did. The night continued until 3 a.m., a few glasses in, reminiscing about the day.
And exchanging stories about the memorable moments. A true Halloween to remember.
100%. Nevertheless, your back doesn't leave me cold. You never mentioned your back pain during the party, Chalmers. How did you manage to keep it to yourself?
Now the magic of Halloween. The music, the laughter, the dancing. It all distracted me from the discomfort. Besides, it was such a fantastic evening. I couldn't bear to let a bruised back steal the spotlight.
Well, you certainly had the spirit of a true Halloween enthusiast, Chalmers. I'm really sorry that this happened, but yes, we had a nice evening, and that's what matters. Is everything working with your back again now?
Everything is fine again. Thanks for asking. It still hurt for a few days afterwards, but it's nothing I wouldn't survive. What hurts more is the pumpkin bucket for the candies. Unfortunately, I landed on it and it broke.
Oh, that's just a bucket. It can be replaced. Luckily, nothing more serious happened to you.
That's true, but it had a special value for me. A student made it for me back when I was still working as a lecturer at the university. It was a study project for the early days of 3D printing, and the student had developed a pumpkin bucket for me using 3D printing and even gave it to me as a gift after the project.
Ah, okay. Now I understand why it means so much to you. But it has been through many years and served long enough.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And you know what has also served long enough? This podcast episode. We spent quite a while together talking about the Halloween story.
Indeed, how quickly time always flies. I really had a lot of fun. We had such a great Halloween together, and today's podcast episode was equally fantastic.
Oh yes, thank you so much for being a part of it. I hope you out there had at least as much fun as we did chatting. If you enjoy this format and want to see more, just follow the channel where you're listening to all of this.
Oh, yeah, that would mean a lot to us. Thank you all for listening. We hope you enjoyed it, and we were able to unravel the mystery of Chalmers' penguin incident.
Well, then there's nothing left for us but to say goodbye for now. As mentioned before, we're trying to turn this into a weekly format, but everything is still in the works, and both of us need to figure out how to fit it into our daily lives, but we definitely hope to provide you with regular content.
Oh, yes, we're doing our best. Thanks again for listening.
And with that, folks, stay tuned for more STEAM topics. Until next time, this is Superintendent Chalmers and Principal Skinner signing off. Have a nice day. Hey.
Goodbye. Farewell.